to Victress FM, brought to you by Victress Entrepreneurs. Here's your host, single mum, entrepreneur and brain injury survivor, Michelle Williams.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victress FM, where every week I'll be introducing you to inspiring women who have refused to give up and have gone after their dreams even in the face of extreme adversity. And this week I was joined by the amazing Stephanie La Torre, who is a web design and digital marketing mentor. Stephanie has an incredibly inspiring story of triumph over adversity, having turned unimaginable loss and grief into an opportunity to rebuild her life in a totally new country, creating the life and business of her dreams. And in this episode, we talk all about how our worst rock bottoms can sometimes be the catalyst for exciting new beginnings. Stephanie's story is honestly so powerful and transformative, so I hope that you really enjoy it. And hello and welcome to Stephanie La Torre to the Victress FM podcast. I'm really delighted that you could join us today, Stephanie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Obviously, I connected with you recently because you're going to be working with us as one of our resident experts, which I'm really excited about. But when I spoke to you, it's really exciting. And I know you're going to be helping our community with their web development and web design and creating a whole course around creating a WordPress site, which is fantastic. But when I spoke to you, I was really inspired by your story and all of the challenges that you've overcome in your life. Because the Victress FM podcast is all about celebrating women's triumph over adversity. And obviously you have gone through such adversity in your life, but you've come out on top, and I found your story really, really inspiring. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit really about your Victress story with us, please.
Absolutely. I mean, my story starts honestly when I was a baby. My parents had separated shortly after I was born, and when I was 3 years old, my birth mother actually passed away.
Wow.
And that kind of started things off for me. I don't really remember much about that time. Obviously, I was very young.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I was adopted by my mother's brother and his wife, so my aunt and uncle, who became my mother and father. And even legally, they adopted me. They were all, I call them mother and father to this day. And I was very, very lucky and fortunate to be raised by them. This was a couple that didn't have children of their own. Mm-hmm. My uncle had 2 children from a previous marriage, but my aunt hadn't had any children of her own. Mm. So I was her daughter. I got that chance. I got that chance to be raised by her, and it was incredible. As horrific as it was to be that young and lose your mother, I was given to a beautiful, beautiful family and raised by them and given every possible opportunity in life. And then kind of came the second turmoil in my life, which is when my adoptive father passed away when I was 19. I was at college, my first year at college, and that for me honestly was traumatic because he had become that person in my life. He was like the one you go to, like when you have questions or when you're not sure, and I really, really depended on him. In fact, I was a little overly dependent. It was kind of like I would ask the question, and whatever response he gave, that's what I would do. Yeah. And so I didn't actually learn to make my own decisions. So by losing him, I essentially lost my ability to make decisions in a way. Yeah. And it took me a long time to get over that. I traveled across the US. I lived in California for a couple of years. I grabbed my Jeep and I drove from New York to California a few times. Just me and my cat. It was a fun road trip.
This was kind of like to try and, come to terms with what had happened and, to try and find yourself as well, because, like you said.
It was.
Yeah, your dad had been so influential on your life and your decisions and everything.
And that's not easy when you're in your 20s.
No.
Your 20s are hard enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I was
extra complications.
Yeah, an awful time, isn't it, to lose anybody that you're that close to? But I think particularly in those years, it must have been awful.
It was. I mean, I met amazing people along the way. Driving across the U.S., it's a thing to do. It's a big thing to have accomplished. So I was really, really amazed at the beautiful scenery that you see when you're driving from one coast to the other. And I finally had come to a good place. I was working for Donald Trump for his property in Bedminster as a dining room manager. Things were well with my family. I was back in college. And then life threw yet another turmoil in my way, and my adoptive mother passed away.
Oh my goodness.
That one was a little bit, it was different from when my father passed away, because I had to spend 6 months really moving in with her and taking care of her. And anyone who has had to take care of a parent with cancer at the end of their life, they understand just what that means and what you go through. Having to take care of your parents, and especially having to do that at such a young age. I was so glad that I had that time. I was 25.
Wow.
I was 25, and I'm very, very glad that I had that time with my mother before she passed away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I ended that experience not being able to make my own decisions, and once again, depending on others to essentially, and without, it wasn't like I told them, I don't know what to do, tell me what to do. I'm not going to make any decisions. I want you to make all the decisions for me. It was passive for me. I was doing it and they were doing it, and none of us knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Kind of a situation. So it's not even like I knew that there was a problem to overcome. But once, after all of these parents had passed away, and I was once again, I wasn't necessarily in that lost situation where I wanted to find myself, but I was finally in a situation where I was kind of free to make my own decisions for essentially the first time in my life.
And what did you decide? What did you decide after that?
I decided a very crazy thing. I decided I wanted to move to Italy. My birth father was originally from Italy. He had been in contact very little in my life, kind of in and out in the situation. And I had recently heard, after she passed away, that I was eligible for citizenship because he was an Italian citizen.
Oh, okay.
And that right away, just that was the article on Google that you read that all of a sudden spirals the rest of the events.
Had you ever been to Italy at that point?
I had not. I did take a trip to Italy before I officially made the move to visit a friend that I had met in Mexico. And I was up in northern Italy. And the first time I arrived, it felt like coming home.
Yeah.
And like, it was just like, this is where I belong. I belong here with all the pasta and the wine and the good food and the crazy people speaking Italian. Because in a sense, I kind of grew up with that with my family, because my family is Italian American on my father's side and Irish American on my mother's side. And living in New Jersey, New York, that's pretty much what you get.
Okay.
You get Irish and Italian.
But did you actually speak Italian before you moved over?
I did not.
So,
and that's where it gets a lot more fun.
Wow. So you literally, after all of that loss and adversity, you decided to pack up your life in America and head over to Italy. And was this on your own? Did you go alone and do this?
I was on my own. I sold my car. I sold all my furniture. I sold 87% of my belongings. And I put some stuff in storage at my friend's house, my cousin's house. And I grabbed my other girlfriend, who was a little younger than me. And I was like, let's go bounce around Europe for a couple months and have some fun before I make this move.
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredibly brave thing to do. I mean, are you a brave, fearless person anyway? Or do you think that decision was born out of the pain and adversity that you were going through?
I think I've always had that courage inside of me. I've always been that person if there was something to try, I would go try it.
Yeah.
If there was some crazy dare that someone had dared me to do, I would go do it. Someone, dared me to make a funny joke or do something silly, like I was always up for it.
Yeah.
The answer was yes.
Yeah. And
think about it later.
when you sort of, obviously you had that crazy trip, and then when you finally made the decision, well, not finally, because it sounds like you kind of already made the decision you wanted to go anyway, but when you actually made that commitment and you got over to Italy, what was that like? Because obviously you didn't really know anybody, did you? I know you had your birth father there, but obviously you hadn't really.
No, my birth father was actually in America, but my aunts and my cousins were here. And I had never been here. I had never seen a picture of here. I wasn't even really sure the name of the town. It was kind of like my cousin was on Facebook, and between her broken English and my crazy attempts to navigate Italy, I made it down to her. And I remember we took the train from Milan all the way down to southern Italy. And this is seriously about a 14-hour train ride.
Wow.
And we took the overnight train. We arrived here at like 6 a.m. and the whole night for me was like being a little kid at Christmas. And just arriving here, and I can't even tell you, when I arrived here, it was even stronger, the sense and presence of coming home than my first trip to Italy. It was, this is where you belong. This is where you're supposed to be. Set aside the fact
to you, do you think?
What's that?
Did it feel quite spiritual to you? Did it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that connection. And besides the fact that where my father apparently grew up is one of the top beaches in all of Italy. Tropea is the port of Hercules. There's the old Roman aqueducts here. There's the Aeolian Islands. There's volcanoes. It's some of the birthplace of really mankind in a lot of ways, in the story of mankind. That's how far back the history goes here.
Yeah.
And so coming here and all of that, it felt right.
Did you have that? It sounds like you got like a love of like history and culture and things like that. So did you already have that sort of growing up?
I did. Growing up, I always loved Greek mythology, and the Roman times. I always loved that history, and I never really understood why until I came here. And I still find little things. I didn't even know one of the Etna, which is directly south of us, which has been erupting lately too, and causing all kinds of turmoil, was apparently in the Greek mythology. It was one of a place of one of the gods where he forged all the weapons for the other gods. And it feels like every day I learn something incredibly new and exciting about this place, and it makes me fall in love with it all over again.
Well, it sounds amazing, and particularly everything that you've gone through and suffering so much loss at such a young age, because I think often in those cases, people can go one of two ways, can't they? You could have gone seriously off of the rails, but you didn't. So what do you think? How do you think that you managed to turn around all of this adversity that you've gone through? Because obviously we haven't talked about it yet, but you've gone on to set up your own really successful business. So I'm interested in knowing how you managed to triumph over this adversity, and then kind of what inspired you on your entrepreneurial journey, really.
I think deep down inside of me, there was always a knowing that there was something more.
Right.
That there was a reason for all of this. There was a reason that I had gone through all of this. There was something beyond my imagination out there that was possible for me. And the idea of selling all my belongings, granted I had been watching a lot of the movie Eat, Pray, Love at the time, going on this crazy spiritual journey, finding a new life. Literally, when I made the decision to move, it was against advice of family. I have family members that still won't speak to me because of this. It was against the advice of everyone, basically, moving to another continent where I don't even speak the language. It was something that I honestly half researched. I don't think I really properly researched everything that I needed to know. But there was something inside me that said, do it. Sell everything you've got, grab your computer, start building websites, even though you have very limited knowledge of how to do so, and just go for it. And that's how my business started, and that's how this new life of mine started. And it was, besides marrying my husband, it was the best decision I ever made, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that you almost feel like things have happened for a reason, and that it was all of these bad things happened to put you on a different path. Is that what you believe? Is that how you think?
Absolutely. And I still go through it. It's not like I moved here and all of a sudden, bam.
No.
Happy life.
No. This is the thing, isn't it? I mean, everybody goes through adversity of some shape or form, or another. If we don't, we're not human, are we? You know, that's just life. If we don't face those challenges, then we're not really living. But what I'm really interested in is kind of like how we can learn and grow from these events that we have in our life, because quite often when we're stuck in the depths of despair, we can't really see the light, can we? But you know, what obviously you've gone through so much, but what do you think you have learned from those experiences, and how do you think they've shaped you into the person that you are today?
The biggest thing I learned was just how strong I truly am. And I say this having seen others struggle, and knowing that I've been through what I've been through, it allows me to know that I can help others as well. And that's why I've started mentoring. That's why I've really started. That's where my business comes in as well. I quit my life, moved to another country, and started an online business. Yeah, that's like the dream life for a lot of people. They're just like, if only I could do that and just work from a beach somewhere. And for some people, it's not necessarily that they need to quit their lives, but there's certain techniques and certain ways to see the good in it. And sometimes that's not always easy on your own. I did a lot of it on my own, I have to say. I was not willing to accept help for a long time. Even my husband, in some ways, he's always been supportive, but go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was about to say, you know, how do you think, because you said you've watched other people and then you realize how strong you are, but what do you think has made you different then? What is it that's made you kind of come out of Victress rather than staying in that victim mindset? What is that thing that you have done or that you've got or whatever it is? Because, you know, that's what I'm really interested in sort of diving into.
I would say the biggest thing that kept me going was just knowing the end goal. If the end goal was living in Italy or speaking Italian, I didn't stop to, I did make plans, and obviously I love my task lists. Can't live without them. But they didn't control me. The thing that drove me and the thing that got me there was seeing that end result. Was seeing that the documents that say I live in Italy and that I am a resident of Italy legally. It was seeing my business be opened and generate income for myself. It was, when I was going through what I was going through with losing my father, it was harder for me to see an end goal. And that's why it took me so long. And that's why I had to kind of go on this journey of self-discovery to really understand what the end goal was. But by not focusing on the little things or the past, but focusing on that kind of point in the future, that really helped me.
So did you have like a clear vision then, really, of what you wanted to create and how you wanted your life to be? Did you do some sort of visualization or something, or how did that work?
Oh, definitely.
Right. Okay.
Definitely a lot of visualization, definitely a lot of immersing myself. I remember before my girlfriend and I left for here, we were on learning Italian sites, which, by the way, I learned none of it. I learned like 3 words, but it kept me in that mindset. We watched movies in Italian. We obviously eating Italian food, that's pretty easy to do in the US, especially in New York. Yeah. But everything was focused on Italy and being an Italian in my mind. Like I really I immersed myself so much in it before I even stepped foot in this country, that by the time I got here, it was like, okay, I've been doing this for 6 months now.
It kind of probably felt a little familiar, I guess. Yeah. And then
definitely.
How does that visualization and that goal setting then translate into you then starting your online business?
With my online business, it was the same thing. I knew that this could work. I knew, and this, I'm talking about 8 years ago now, where it was not so easy to set up a WordPress website. It was not so easy to, we didn't have the one-click install. You had to do some coding in order to get that website up.
Yeah.
It took some work. And I didn't even just start out with doing websites. I just started out with making money online, doing whatever it is that anyone would pay me to do. So whether that was writing, social media posts, I had the vision in the sense that I could already see, and I saw this in my corporate jobs, how social media and the internet was going to kind of play out in the future of business. Like I saw that becoming a thing in business in a much bigger way than it already was.
Because it does. I mean, the thing is, the whole online world, it creates so many opportunities for us all to start our own businesses, doesn't it? I firmly believe that any one of us can do it because of the opportunities that the internet brings. But for me, the downside is, though, with the social media, I feel like we're also kind of not living in reality almost as well. So it's kind of like a difficult balance between, I think having teenage children, they spend their time looking at their phone and,
absolutely,
they get trouble engaging on all of that thing, which is a bit scary for the younger generation of people. But at the same time, the huge opportunities that the internet brings, I think, is really exciting. And the reason that I'm excited about it is because as you know, I'm passionate about inspiring, educating and empowering women to overcome any adversities that they've been through in their life, and to actually recognise the power that we all have to achieve incredible things. And I think the internet makes it easier for us all to do that. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I also have to say, this is one of my favorite quotes, is I forget who said it, or it was like a meme or something like that, but the best advice my parents ever gave me that I ignored was meeting people on the internet. Because I have to say, I have met some of my best friends since I started building this business and entering into my journey as a female entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's opened up so many new possibilities and channels for me. And getting back to the question of my business and starting it again, it was the same kind of vision. It was the same kind of, I know this could make me money. I know there's something out there that's going to cross my path, that's going to make it click, that's going to make it work. I just have to show up every single day and not be focused on the 25 people that said no to my proposal today, but be focused on the fact that this business will make me money.
So there you've hit on one of my favorite words, which is, well, there's two favorite words actually, perseverance and resilience, which I personally think are the two most important characteristics that any entrepreneur needs, and you've kind of hit the nail right on the head. You obviously have got that, but that's something, I think that's a muscle that any of us can develop. We can all become more resilient and more determined, and persevere more. Do you agree with that? Or is that, have you always?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely did not have that when I was younger.
So where's that come
especially
from?
when I was a teenager.
Where's that come from?
It's something I had to develop it. I had to believe in my dreams and my beliefs so much that I didn't have a choice but to develop it. And by focusing on the goal, I didn't have any other options. There was no quit and get another job kind of thing.
And I'm interested whether this muscle that you've exercised in terms of the perseverance and resilience, do you think that's kind of been born out of the adversities that you've gone through though? Do you think it's kind of like, you've lost all of those important people in your life, and you've kind of had to become so independent. So do you think that's actually helped you to build those muscles?
Absolutely. My life would be very, very different today if I hadn't gone through those. And that's not to say it would be worse or it wouldn't be as amazing. It most certainly would be. But I don't think I'd be living on the beach in southern Italy.
No.
I can kind of confidently say that.
No.
I definitely would have followed a different path. And sometimes, you know, there are moments on my walks with the dogs where I'll sit there and kind of a vision will come into my mind of what my life would have been like had these things not. And it's a lovely life. It's a beautiful life, but it's not the one that I was supposed to live. This one was. So
it is important, isn't it, to like look back on what's happened in your life and reflect and think about, you know, how you know, the different things that happen, how it kind of takes you on a different path. And you can't help but think sometimes that, you know, there's something bigger out there that's steering us in these directions. You know, it makes you feel a little bit more spiritual. You know, certainly for me anyway, obviously having survived a brain hemorrhage, and certain things have happened that have enabled me to meet certain people in my life which are really, really important, and has obviously taken me on this path now of helping to help more women in business. But I can't help but think some of the awful things that have happened to me, that it was kind of like you said earlier, that it was meant to be. And is that something that you perhaps didn't think at the time, but you've come to look back on your life and think that is the case?
Oh, definitely. There were many moments in my life, especially in my early 20s, where I was so focused on why did this happen to me? Why couldn't I have just had a normal, aka normal life? Why did it have to be this way? Focusing so much on the negative. And not being a spiritual person at all. I mean, in those days, I was zero spirituality at all. Well,
because it's difficult to feel any level of religion, spirituality or whatever when you've gone through that kind of loss. It kind of probably puts you the other way in a sense, doesn't it? But
no, I was literally blocking it. I didn't want it. I literally, if you want to, imagine, like I was putting up a wall.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you here. I want you to go away. I want to stay in my little negative space and be the queen of negative town.
But so what is it? What's the catalyst then that forced you out of that sort of negative city, or whatever you just referred to it as? What is that catalyst that think, no, I need to get out of this space now and have more positivity in my life, and this is the life that I want? How did that happen?
For me, I remember actually the moment that spirituality came into my life. My family had always been half religious, half not religious. I had always pretty much been not religious in any way, shape, or form. I was the Catholic girl in the sense that, I was Catholic technically, but that didn't mean that I followed any of it or I was religious in any way, shape, or form. And my girlfriend and I had just arrived in Spain. We had been here in Europe for about a week.
Yeah.
And we were in a tiny little town. The name is escaping me at the moment, but it'll come to me in a minute. And there was this beautiful old church. And I have no idea why I decided to walk into it. But I walked into it and it was this beautiful old blue stone church. And I just felt the presence. I felt a spiritual connection. I felt you did it. You sold everything. You're here. Now you can enjoy it. And that was the moment that I kind of said, this is why. And granted, I was a little bit older. I was a little bit wiser. I had been through a bit more, but it was the moment that I could finally see that being negative isn't going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to get you where you want to go.
No.
I got where I was because I was positive and focused, not because I was thinking about the bazillion things that could go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, when you focus on the negative, it kind of attracts more negativity, and you kind of, you really have to, you know, whatever you've gone through, try to look at whatever blessings you can, or whatever lessons you can learn from the experiences that you've been through. And kind of, it's all about gratitude as well, isn't it? Being grateful for the small things that you do have as well. And from my point of view, it really helps if I start my day with the feeling of gratitude. So one of my rituals and routines is I set my alarm clock an hour early. I get up every morning. I go for a 3-mile walk with my dog as the sun is rising, because I just love that feeling. Although we're in the UK and it's pitch black and it's dark and it's cold and I'm out in my winter coat and my woolly hat, it just makes you feel great, particularly having survived a brain hemorrhage and the fact that I'm very, very lucky to still be here. I can't fail to feel negative, even if I wake up feeling, you know, worried or anxious about something. As soon as I go for that walk and I see the sunrise and I hear the birds in the trees, I can't fail to feel positive and uplifted for the rest of the day. So I'm just interested if you have any sort of daily rituals or routines that keep you positive and focused on success.
You're gonna laugh at me.
I will not laugh, I promise.
I have 3 gratitude journals.
Oh wow, brilliant. Well, they obviously.
So I have one on my phone, which is that's my wake up gratitude journal kind of thing, and it's a morning and evening one. It's called the 5-minute journal, and it reaffirms for me a sense of gratitude. Mm-hmm. Like it's that stable, no matter where I am, I can type out the things I'm grateful for today. So even if I don't get to my other gratitude journal that day, at least this one's on my phone. It's almost impossible not to do. Yeah. And it's got a nice little area to add a photo of the day, which I love doing. So it not only brings home the gratitude in the morning, but it also reinforces it at night with your top 3 things that happened for the day. Yeah. And I find some days I've got more than 3 things. How do I pick 3?
Oh, I see. So you're only meant to pick 3. Is that right?
The idea is to pick 3.
Okay.
With this one. So it gets challenging sometimes to say these are my 3 favorite things of the day, or these are the 3 things I'm grateful for, which is possibly why I have more than one gratitude journal. Yeah. But the next one that I have is a lovely written journal. Mm-hmm. And it's a gratitude journal. Each page just has the date, the word gratitude on top, and then 3 spaces to write out things that you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. And I try to do that one. That one's kind of like my mid-morning journal. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting another dose of gratitude in there.
Brilliant.
And then the last gratitude journal that I do, it's not so much gratitude of things, but proof. So it's things that I've asked for that have come true.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I asked to be living here in Italy, and I'm here. Yeah. I asked to have a wonderful husband, and I've got one.
Yeah.
I asked to have a crazy puppy, and I've got one.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, it's such a simple but powerful thing to do, isn't it? And I mean, I recently bought my best friend Lisa's Playmaker. I'm going to give her a shout out. She's like my best friend in the world, and I actually met her after suffering my brain hemorrhage because her mum died of the same condition, and kind of like ever since we've met, we've been pretty much inseparable. But I bought her the Secret for Christmas, the DVD, which she absolutely loved, and she's so taking it to heart. And so every morning she's basically, we went to the beach and we picked up some pebbles or stones. So every morning she has got like a gratitude stone that she picks it up and she holds it and she thinks about all the things that she's grateful for. And actually she takes it with her everywhere now. It's literally in her hands pretty much all day long. But she's actually, since she's been using this, she's actually been attracting things into her life
Absolutely.
like magic. So it's really it's interesting to find that, you know, to speak to you, that's something that you do, one of the rituals that you have, because I have seen from myself, other people that I've spoken to, and my best friend Lisa, how this does actually work with people. So it's amazing. Can I ask as well, you know, what, after all of those challenges that you have been through, what do you consider to be your biggest triumphs in life?
I definitely would have to say learning to speak a second language by moving here to Italy. I very much felt like the spoiled little New Jersey girl when I got here. So why doesn't everyone speak English? What do you mean there's no drop-in, what do they call it? The wash and fold services for your laundry. Not that I didn't know how to do laundry, but you know, in my 20s when you're working in the corporate world, that's what you do. You go to the wash and fold. And here I moved to this teeny tiny little beach town where we're washing our clothes in bins in the backyard kind of situation. Yeah. And I accidentally bleached all my black clothes, and that was lots of fun, and everyone laughed at me. It was really hard to sit there and try and teach my brain, not just to learn a second language to learn the language, but to learn the language because I had no other choice. I had no way of communicating with people. If I was serious about my goal of living here in Italy, I had to learn Italian. Yeah. And that's interesting, isn't it? Your goal was obviously so important to you that you had to make that difficult task of learning the language happen. You had to make that a reality. But it's interesting because I think that's the same in business, isn't it? That whatever your business goal is, you need to be so focused on it and so determined to take the actions that will make that goal a reality. It's the same thing, don't you think? You know, that focus absolutely
is the same in business.
And I did that in my business. I was so focused on making my business a success, I learned WordPress websites. And I learned them to the point where I was able to build a course and teach others to build WordPress websites. Yeah. So I immersed myself and I focused only on that, staying up till 2 a.m, learning whatever I can learn. It was the same when I learned to speak another language. And the funny thing is it's not learn a second language. Anyone who speaks more than one language knows it's a weird to think in multiple languages too. Like I'll start speaking in English and then I'll switch to Italian. My dreams are in different languages. My thoughts are in different languages. It changes your life. It's reprogramming your brain on a whole other level. And that was certainly not my goal. That wasn't my focus, but it's what I had to do in order to reach that goal.
Yeah. And did this happen, the learning of Italian, did that happen before you started your business or during? During. So
during. I had my business and my knowledge of the Italian language probably are about the same age. The same level.
You were going through a whole moving to a new country, learning new things, learning a new language, teaching yourself WordPress and website development and everything. You were going through a huge learning curve, but also growth curve as well, weren't you?
Yes.
Which, you know, from my point of view, I always say this to everybody, that I went through kind of like a divorce and, you know, have been a single parent for years. And when I was going through my divorce, I kind of like lost my identity. I mean, I feel like I lost my identity. I obviously love being a mum, and my children are 21 and 18, or nearly 18 now. Love being a mum, but I do feel that when I became a mum, I kind of lost a little bit of my identity then, because you're always referred to as, you know, Harvey's mum or, you know, Elliot's mum. And then also, I guess, changing careers, that can happen. But also when I went through my divorce, I definitely felt like I don't know who I am anymore. And, you know, it was a long marriage, 20 years, and I kind of questioned everything, and I lost so much confidence. But it was having my own business and being so determined to make it successful so that I could support my children, and being forced to come out of my comfort zone and learn new things that I didn't think I was capable of, but then actually realizing, wow, I can do this, that actually enabled me to discover who I was. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other women in business, because it's not so much about the financial rewards that you can create. I'm really passionate about helping women to recognize their own worth and their own potential. And that's why I'm really excited to be working with you, because obviously you're going to be helping our community with creating their own website, their WordPress website, which is kind of like obviously vital in an online business. And so I'd just like you to share a little bit about kind of like how you work and how on a personal level you think it helps women to how it helps women sort of sense of purpose, sense of worth to kind of start a business, particularly in the online world.
I had one of the best moments of my business last year when I was speaking to a client. I had recently done her website, and she said to me, she was starting in the mentoring. I was still learning these things still. And she said to me, Stephanie, you didn't give me a website. You gave me freedom.
Wow.
You gave me the ability to follow my true path. And those were words that have stuck with me since I heard them, because I was really struggling with this myself. Is this possible that my purpose in life is to build websites? That doesn't sound deep. That doesn't sound fulfilling. That doesn't give me joy and excitement. It doesn't spark joy for me. I've been watching Marie Kondo lately. For me, it was just a simple, you build a website, you click some buttons and it's done. But when she told me that, it really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there are so many women that feel that they have a bigger purpose. I felt like I had a bigger purpose. That's why I moved to Italy and started my business, because I knew I could do more. I knew I could be more. Even if in a lot of ways I didn't know, I had an idea, but maybe I didn't see the whole picture. I just had the sense that there was more I could do. And what I do in my business, yes, I give you a website, but I also give you the opportunity to follow your true path and have the freedom to make that path a reality.
And I absolutely love that, and it is so true, because I mean, most of us don't start a business because we want to be a millionaire. There's normally a reason we want to start a business, and it's quite usually something at an emotional level. Like you say, we might want more freedom, more flexibility, more time to spend with the people that we love. It might be that we've got this this mission that we feel like we want to fulfill, or this vision. And I think all of us, and you just mentioned it a moment ago, I think particularly as we get a little bit older, we realize that we want to make a difference in the world. We want to have a sense of purpose. And you're absolutely right, because what you're doing in creating websites for women, it's equipping them with the ability to create that freedom in their lives, isn't it? Yeah, and I love that.
You can run a business without a website. It's just going to be a lot more difficult. In today's business world, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have. And there are a lot of different levels of websites. So you can have something that's crazy intricate that costs you $10,000, $20,000 to build, or you can have something simple that costs you $10 a month.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that does what you want it to do.
Yeah, and I know that, with how you're working with us at Victress Entrepreneurs, is that you're actually going to help to, educate and empower our community, because you're actually creating a course so that, our community, the ones, people that want to, you're actually going to be showing them the process of creating their own WordPress website, which I think is really liberating for all women, because it just gives them so much opportunities to create like an amazing lifestyle for themselves, and independence as well, you know, because that's, I think, something, whether you're married or not, I think it's something that's really important, that you still have that feeling of independence and that sense of purpose.
Yeah,
definitely. So I've got, we're going to have to kind of wrap up soon, but I've got a question I wanted to ask you, and it's basically, in light of everything that you've been through in your life, if you could go back and speak to your younger self, and you could give yourself a really good piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, I would definitely tell myself to listen to myself more, spend more time with myself, spend more time trusting myself, because the funny part of this story is, when I was 19, I told my friends and family that I wanted to move to Italy. This was before I knew that I could have a visa or citizenship. I knew nothing. I wasn't even speaking to my father at this time. I said I wanted to move to Italy, and everyone laughed in my face. A couple of people told me to some of my dreams that that's the stupidest thing they've ever heard.
Why do you think they had that perception?
Because these are people who come from a fear mentality. It's you follow this path in life, and that's it. There is no veering off the path. This is the only path that exists. You go to college, you get good grades, you graduate, you get a corporate position, you find some nice guy, you get married, you have kids, you work in a corporate world for 50 years, for 20 years, 30 years, however long it takes, and then you retire and you move to Florida. That is every New Yorker's life.
Yeah,
every New Jersey's life.
To be honest, I think it's probably the majority of the world population. It's about social conditioning and what other people's perceptions are of how you should act or be, or what you should do in life, isn't it? And so it does take courage to kind of step away from that and actually recognize that, no, there's something more for me. And you obviously had that feeling actually at quite a young age, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, even now I sit there and go, what if I had moved when I was 19?
Well, I think it's incredibly brave, you know, that you, but also very inspiring that you did kind of listen to that inner voice that you had, because that's kind of taken you to where you are now, which I think is amazing and really inspiring. And one final question that I would really like you to answer as well is, do you have any advice for any listeners at all that perhaps are struggling with a particular area of their life, who want to make that change from sort of victim to victress in their businesses and their lives? Have you got any words of wisdom that you could offer there?
Definitely find someone to support you. Now, this doesn't have to be your family. This doesn't have to be your spouse. This doesn't have to be people that you know. This could be someone you meet in a Facebook group. But when you're surrounding yourself with people who are saying, no, don't do that, that's not a good idea, that's not going to give you the confidence and the courage to move forward. If you know in your bones, in your heart of hearts, that this is what you are supposed to be doing, find the people who are going to help support you to do that. And make them a part of your daily life. Even if it's texting on WhatsApp, make them a part of your world, so that you have that positive reinforcement from an outside source. It's one thing when you're telling yourself to stay positive. Yeah. It's another thing when you have other people saying it to you.
And that's a really good point, because I think there's a saying, I don't know exactly, but it's like you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Or
spend the most time with, yep.
Yeah, which I think is absolutely true. And, you know, it's really difficult, because I know that, you know, family will sometimes, you know, if you say that you're going to do something which is kind of like unusual, or from their point of view, if they think it's too unachievable in their minds, they kind of can talk you out of doing things, because that's their own perception of reality. But the fact is that, you know, if you surround yourself with people that believe in you and also believe in your vision, then you are much more likely to stay motivated to take those steps towards making whatever that goal is a reality. So I think that's a really great piece of advice. So thank you for that. And finally, just want to ask, if people want to connect with you and find out more about you, and obviously how you can help them to gain that freedom in their lives that you mentioned, how can people connect with you?
And my website is egmanagementconsultant.us, and you can find me there. I have weekly how-to videos for your website. I have an amazing free WordPress guide for you. I also offer I'm offering to your community a free website review if you're interested.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure you have all the links for all of those things. And of course, if you have questions or need me, just reach out. I'm always available on social media if anyone needs anything.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Well, we will make sure that obviously we've got all of those links in the show notes, and also over at the website of Victress Entrepreneurs as well. But I just want to thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us. I found your story so inspiring. You know, you are the true definition of a victress as far as I'm concerned, with everything that you've gone through, and just, you know, I can hear your positivity and your gratitude coming through when I speak to you. And I think that what you have gone on to achieve in your life, I think is absolutely amazing, and I think is really inspiring for me to listen to, and also I think for all of our listeners at Victress FM as well. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure. I'm going to get all emotional now. Sorry.
That's quite all right. Honestly, Stephanie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't expecting to have kind of like a little transformational moment myself during this, just looking back and saying, wow, that really was what got me through it. That really was what got me to where I am today.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for your honesty as well, because it must be really painful sharing some of these experiences. But, you know, one of the big things that I really want to get across with Victress Entrepreneurs and Victress FM is that we are all human, and we all go through so many challenges in our lives. And, you know, I just really want to inspire women that whatever we go through, we can turn our lives around and we can achieve the most incredible things if we make that decision that we want to be the victress in our lives rather than the victim. So thank you so much for helping my listeners to realise what is possible, because obviously you're living that dream life over in Italy, and you're doing amazing things with your business as well, I know.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie, and I will connect with you very soon. Bye-bye for
now. Bye.
Bye. And to you, our wonderful Victress FM listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed this interview with Stephanie as much as I have. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about Stephanie, please either check out the show notes or head over to victressentrepreneurs.com, where all of our podcast guests are featured on our website. Please also don't forget to subscribe to Victress FM on either iTunes or Stitcher to make sure that you don't miss out on another inspiring episode. But until next week, stay victorious.
You're listening to Victress FM. Victress Entrepreneurs, for women who are victorious in business and in life.